The spotted-winged Drosophila is a relatively new invasive pest that first came into California around 2008 and has since kind of spread throughout North America. It is a somewhat unique Drosophila, or some might call it a fruit fly or a vinegar fly, in that your typical fruit fly, they only lay eggs in fruit that are already kind of spoiled, rotting, already kind of open. Well, this one is different in that the females have what's called a serrated ovipositor. So the organ they use to lay eggs has little teeth. And with those teeth, she can basically drill a hole into a fruit that its skin is still fully intact and lay eggs in it before it's fully ripe and ready to harvest. So most or many soft-bodied fruits, such as your cherries, blackberries, strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, all of them are potentially susceptible to damage from the spotted-winged Drosophila. And what happens is, by the time you go to pick these fruit, if you have a heavy infestation, they might already be quite soft, or by the time the consumer gets it, they might actually spoil a lot sooner than they would if they were not infested. So that's what we're dealing with here. In Texas, we've seen them before. Once in College Station, there was an informal sighting. We have not had a monitoring program to actually see whether they're widespread in Texas. And so what I did here was, there was a project with strawberries and high tunnels, and I decided to do some monitoring to see whether there was any spotted-winged Drosophila in that plot. With a very simple homemade trap, which I'll show you how to make, you'll see that you might be able to find some, and we'll see how to do that. Hi, so this is how you're going to make a spotted-winged Drosophila trap in your own home using things you can get from your local hardware store. The tools that we have here include red duct tape as a visual cue to attract the spotted-winged Drosophila. We have a bottle. This is a 16.9 ounce pop bottle, but you can use different sizes as well. And we have some drywall tape, and this will serve as a bit of a mesh to restrict the size of the insects getting into our trap. We also have some apple cider vinegar, and like we said before, spotted-winged Drosophila is a vinegar fly, so it is attracted to that smell of fermenting fruit or vinegar. And so we're going to use this as our bait. And then we're going to use some unscented soap as well to help break the surface tension of the apple cider vinegar, so when the fruit flies go in, they are going to essentially drown in that vinegar. And lastly here, we have a hot glue gun as well to help put it all together. We also have some red spray paint. You can also use this to spray some other parts of the bottle red as additional visual cue if you would like, but we're not going to use that here in my office. So first what we're going to do is take this bottle and we want to cut out a square hole out of the side, just like so. You can use scissors or an X-Acto knife, but be very careful when cutting out that hole. Next, we want to put over some of that drywall tape over that hole, so we're restricting the movement of large insects into the bottle using the hot glue. I advise applying a very thin layer at a time, because some of these bottles can be very thin and they can easily melt with the hot glue. So by applying a small thin amount, you can have that hot glue kind of melt rather quickly rather than melting the bottle. We'll make sure we give that hot glue some time to dry before we continue. Alright, next we can apply our red duct tape. This is going to help, once again, act as a visual cue for spotted-winged Drosophila, but it's also going to help keep that mesh on the bottle as well. So we can apply it just to the sides and edges of it so it helps keep it on the bottle. Now we have a beautiful transformation from a pop bottle to a spotted-winged Drosophila trap. And now all we need is our bait. And so we're going to pour just enough apple cider vinegar to kind of go in that bottom. These traps, you don't want to leave them out there for too long because then that apple cider vinegar is going to evaporate and you're going to have a lot of things to go through. So what I always advise is kind of little bottom bit there is how much you want to put in terms of apple cider vinegar. And here in my office, I'm going to use a funnel, although not necessary elsewhere, just because I don't want a sticky desk to be working on. And then just put a couple drops of soap in there, no more, and well, you can put a little bit less. But you do not need too much soap in there, just enough to break that surface tension, and once it's in there, kind of swoosh the solution around a little bit. If you like, if you're working with a large batch of apple cider vinegar, you can put enough soap in there initially so that you can always have that soap and the apple cider vinegar mixed in together. Additionally, if you are looking at colder months of the year, you can add in some source of ethanol or something that's going to basically decrease the freezing point, like rubbing alcohol just a little bit, so you can help decrease that temperature which is going to freeze. Next, you want to cap it and then put it wherever your fruit are. In this case, you might put it outside in your garden, either on the ground, and you can use some tape and a stake to hold it in the ground. Or if your fruit are higher, you're looking at higher trees or something, make sure it's in the canopy so it almost looks like it's one of the fruit. And you really want it to be a good attractant for the spotted-winged Drosophila. All right, so once you've actually trapped some spotted-winged Drosophila, you can either try identifying it yourself. The males are easily identifiable with the naked eye, as long as it's a little bit trained. What you want to look for is a spot, one spot, on the male wing, on the first vein near the tip. Now, Drosophila are very small. Remember, they're kind of like those little flies that fly around in your house on your fruit. So you have to look very carefully to look for that one black spot on the males. The females have this rated ovipositor, and it really requires some magnification. If you're uncertain about your ID or you'd like someone else to take a look at it, you can send it here. Make sure that you're putting all of your flies, that they're no longer in apple cider vinegar, remove them from that, and put them inside a small plastic container that is sealable with 70% rubbing alcohol, which you can get at your local store, local pharmacy, or wherever. And seal it in there, put it in a box, and ship it to me, and I can take a close look at it. Make sure as well that you include a document with your trap, with your flies, about your name, contact information, where you trapped it, if it's close to any kind of fruit, and also the date. Those are some critical pieces of information, and anything else you think would help.